1 week ago, you raced Ironman Copenhagen in the incredible fast time, 7 hours, 49 minutes and 10 seconds. How are you doing, Frederik?
Hey Lasse, nice to meet you again. Yeah, I think my body is actually feeling okay at the moment.
Yeah.
I took a whole week off, just doing absolutely nothing. So just went back to training today. I was a bit tired at swim this morning,
Yeah.
but it's good to get the body moving again.
Great. We are going to, actually make a bit of a deep dive into your training journal in the last 6 weeks before Ironman Copenhagen, and also talk a little bit about the race itself. But for those people who might not have heard about you before, let's make a small introduction. Before Ironman, you were racing short distance on international, not international, but
Yeah,
a
junior,
national youth
international.
elite level. So can
Yeah.
you give a short introduction to your triathlon life, like?
Yeah, well, I started I think in 2013, and starting really to think about doing triathlon for more than just a passion, but actually doing it to get some results, and that ended in qualifying for the national youth and junior team. In that was 18, 19, and then yeah, I raced some races internationally on the short course distance. Also tried to race Super League once. So been on that path, and then I had a small gap without any training, and now I'm on to long course age group triathlon.
Exactly. But I don't offend you, Frederik, by saying that you were never this, promising next Rasmus Henning, future Olympics. Actually, you and your friends, your training group, gave yourself this ironic nickname, No Chance Crew, right?
Yeah, exactly. I never really found my way through short distance triathlon. I think for many years that was just something that didn't work out for me with the very very high intensity.
Hmm.
I had a really good training just in the individual disciplines, but coming together on race day, it was like nothing really worked for me. So yeah, short course was never really my thing.
So then it's good for you and all fans of the sport that Ironman turned out to be your thing. You were living in Hawaii for studying there for half a year, and
Yeah,
well, that also turned out to be at a time. Maybe I suspect that you actually planned it to qualify for
surprisingly,
Kona.
surprisingly the same time the Ironman World Championship was in Kona. Yeah.
Exactly, and they had a magnificent result. So talk about some of you. You had the top result in Kona, and also did a super fast time in Hamburg. Just before we dive into Copenhagen, so people know that you don't completely come out of nowhere.
Yeah, I think I did my second Ironman in Hamburg last year.
8:10.
I think at 8:10. Yeah, exactly. I don't know if it was like the race of my life at that point, but I think it came pretty good together. And first time I almost ran the whole marathon on the Ironman distance.
Hmm.
Coming in at 8:10, which was yeah way better than expected as well. And I had my qualification spot from Copenhagen the year before for Kona, so I knew that was just a part of my preparations towards the World Champs.
Hmm.
And then again, with a lot of preparation for the World Champs, I planned on going on exchange in Hawaii to get the best training up till then, with 8 weeks just in Hawaii, temperature and humidity. And then I raced Hawaii, and yeah, now I'm here.
Were you fourth quickly before we go into your preparation and race in Hamburg? this Olympian rower Lars Vikert, phenomenal athletes, both in his rowing career and obviously triathlon as well. I don't think he was the first age grouper to go sub 8, but
Yeah, raised the
he
bar.
raised the bar for sure with what I believe was 7:51 maybe. And
Yeah, something around that.
you were there 5 spots further back, but seeing that this was possible, was that maybe one of the things that made the sparkle, saying, well, this might be possible for me to do a time like this?
To be honest, I never really thought about that.
No.
It was also first when I actually finished the race in Copenhagen and got told that it was actually faster than last weekend, because I saw he tagged me in a story and congratulated me. And that was actually when I realized that the time was really fast for an age grouper. But no, going into Copenhagen, I thought about 8 hours would be on a day where everything played out. Sub 8 hours could be a possible goal time. So I was really surprised that it ended up being that fast. But he definitely surprised me in Hamburg. I knew he would be racing, and I knew from Morten Felt that he would be fast. But then he overtook me on the bike in the end of the bike in Hamburg, and I never saw him again.
Yeah, exactly. You have just been slowly progressing since then. When this episode is out, hopefully you guys can follow along. You guys watching on YouTube and listening by podcast, there will be show notes so you can watch for yourself. But you actually you raced 270.3 race ahead of Copenhagen. You had
I
some
raced
fitness. Sorry,
470.3s.
but two of them, they were in the early spring, right?
One of them were Venice was 4th of May, I think.
Yeah.
And then I raced Køge 2 weeks after that, Elsinore 2 weeks after that,
Køge
Jönköping.
was the Danish championship, right?
Exactly.
So actually, you were racing 70.3 distance, super close to Ironman. What do you believe that racing a bit more, let's say, fast twitch helped you for Ironman? Do you think that this made a difference?
That's a pretty good question. I think, of course, it's really, really good training. The best training you can do is basically racing. But I think it was also pretty tough for my body
Yeah.
to race 3 times in 5 weeks on the 70.3 distance.
Exactly. Can I make a quick segue? Because if I upload your first training week here and you talk about you had a hard time, you can actually see that the first 2 weeks in your 6-week Ironman block has a bit of it should be green, but there's a lot of red there. Can you talk about that? Are you looking at the screen as well?
Yeah.
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 Talk about those weeks.
Yeah. So the first week was definitely the recovery week after Jönköping. Even though it's a part of my training to race those 70.3s, it's pretty tough for the body. So I need some recovery definitely after those kind of races. And actually participating in Jönköping, I never really felt like the spark for racing that one. I was mentally really, really tired after Elsinore and Køge. I think setting yourself up to compete, first of all, against some of the good guys in Denmark,
Yeah.
in Køge, and then for Elsinore, which I really dreamt about winning.
Yeah, exactly.
Then setting myself up for a third race, that was pretty tough mentally.
Can I ask you?
So
you are working with the head coach of KTK, Jens Pedersen Bak as well, right?
yeah,
Also the guy coaching famously Magnus Ditlev. Didn't you guys talk about if you should just pull the plug, not race that? Why did you choose to race even though you felt tired?
I love racing, and that was also why I chose to race so many races this year, and actually do 70.3s instead of Ironman distances.
Yeah.
First of all, to try the 70.3 distance, see how my body works on that distance, and then also because I just love the Ironman community and Ironman racing. We never spoke about not participating, and I actually thought that I would be there bringing my A game, but I could feel like mentally from the beginning that I wasn't ready for it
Mhm.
at all. It came out pretty solid either way, and I think that shows that it is a good training day. Even
Exactly.
the hard training days are still, you still need to get them in the books.
Exactly. Of
Um,
course, I know that you won the one in Elsinore, fastest age group of the day, won overall convincingly. But actually, did you end up winning the age group race as well? How did
nope,
how did it
it's
go?
Frederik Bradley from Aarhus
Ah,
went
okay.
a bit faster.
Yeah,
Had a really really fun race with him, and the best guy on the day just won.
yeah.
Really nothing to say. He was ready from the start and he did a good job. Paced his race really well, I think. But it just shows that if you don't bring your best game, you're not gonna win on the day
Yeah.
because it's so competitive nowadays.
Exactly. We could look a little bit more into the weeks itself, but you wrote a quick note here, which says that you swim 5 times a week. It sounds like a lot, about 20 kilometers per week, but really, stood out to me was the insane amount of biking that you do 5 times a week, and three of those rides are slow. I mean, like 200 watts, like
Yeah, tops 150, 160, 180, 190.
low soon too.
I would actually call it zone one actually just
Can you
restitution.
talk about the reason for that, and also if you live, in the center and have to go and ride for 5 hours, then at least 1 hour is getting out of the city. So this just in my head a bit of chaos there. How do you pull that off?
It's not that bad. I live pretty close to where I can get out of the city
Yeah,
easily. So normally I have a loop or two, three different loops around 40k to 50k,
yeah.
and then I just go those loops. First of all, it's of course those free sessions that you can skip if you're tired or
Hmm.
if you have a busy day or something. But it is just to get the body moving, active recovery. That's the main idea of it. Don't go out, push yourself on these. I've started to bike a lot with some new friends that has signed up for Ironman or the
Yeah.
70.3, which are really really good friends, and I use this session to just write with them,
Okay.
talk with them.
So a
So
little bit
also
of
trying to keep them
socializing as well as
exactly.
training. Yeah.
Yeah,
But can you, when we're talking, hardcore fitness wise, we look at numbers, improving fitness, stuff like that. Back in the days in the 90s, our national team, they were super big on lactates, thresholds, pushing one another, basically doing race simulations in everyday training, like people trying to rip the legs of one another. When you have done this rides, can you actually feel that your fitness improves with this easy pace?
to be honest, I don't think they do that much.
Mm.
It is just to get a little bit extra volume
Yeah,
and to yeah the active recovery part, not just to sit on my flat ass and do nothing, but actually just move the body.
yeah.
Um, it's also typically like I do it on Tuesdays and Thursdays and Saturdays,
Yeah.
which is the days where I run as well. So
Ah,
if I
okay.
have a long run on Tuesday morning or in the middle of the day, Tuesday or Saturday morning, then it's a pretty good recovery exercise to just go out
Of
and let
course,
the
yeah.
blood flush through.
Yeah. But in all fairness, one of your rides is a 3 hour threshold session, which
Yeah,
it
low
looks.
threshold. Yeah,
Sorry,
it's the LT1 threshold. Yeah,
LT1, but still, I believe, yeah, LT1. Is that close to your Ironman watch or just
yeah,
below?
pretty
Yeah,
close to our main watch.
yeah.
Yeah,
But you still, I believe, you're not sitting there small talking. You have to be fueled for a session like that.
yeah, for sure. It's one of the tougher sessions, especially mentally. You
Yeah.
should be able to sustain that power for, let's say, 4 hours on race day.
Yeah.
So it's pretty tough to go out and do those sessions. Yeah.
Yeah. But I believe this is also what people talk about when they say polarized training, where your easy sessions are super easy, and then you have
Yeah.
really really tough sessions. Another tough one is your specific run session, 28 to 30 kilometers, where a good part of that is in your Ironman pace.
Yeah.
And yeah, for me being an age grouper, I would say um length and kilometer wise, I would do that maybe as a long, slow run. But that's actually where you put a lot of effort in. So how long is actually your weekly slow run?
Around 12K.
Okay,
I have one easy jog on Thursday.
okay,
Because my volume isn't that high, so I wanted to combine my long session with some Ironman tempo, because otherwise it would be impossible to actually get a long session in without.
exactly. Can you talk a little bit about the reason? I think you're right here that your kilometer average per week is 55 to 60 kilometers, which for a elite age group slash future professional doesn't sound that much compared to how much
Um,
you swim and bike. That is.
yeah, true. I think the thing with running is that that's where you typically get injured.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really, really building it up slowly,
Mm-hmm.
trying really not to do too much volume, but instead focus on the intensity, especially also because I've raced so many 70.3
Yeah.
this years. But if I look at my running last year at this point, I did around 40K a week. So it's actually I think, a pretty okay increase since then.
Yeah.
But as well, it's 1 year since I did 40K, so it's been a really slowly build up
Yeah.
just to be on the more like
Safe
good
side.
side of,
Yeah.
yeah, safe side, not to get injured. And then instead, I've been running, like trying to put a lot of intensity in,
Yeah.
um, instead.
That makes sense. The 5 hours per week, is that the Kotiko, your triathlon squats morning sessions you're joining, or how do you
Thinking about the
express it?
swim,
Yeah, about the swim. Yeah,
yeah.
is that just the morning
Um,
sessions in Kotiko?
I hate swimming alone, so
Me too.
I will always swim with someone from the club. We typically have scheduled swims in Tuesday and Thursday mornings, Saturday and Sunday, and then we have the bigger, like, elite group we have.
Mm.
We do some over the summer. We've done some open water training every Monday and Friday with
Ooh.
intensity in some way. So there's always someone to swim with. We have our own loops
Ah,
around there, which we know is, yeah, I don't know. We got one that is 1.9K, and we got
mm.
one that's 400, and another one that's 600. So we
Yeah.
can do like different sessions
Are
just
there
going on those loops.
are there other key sessions? Maybe your park runs are pretty infamous. I don't know. Is that Saturday? You have a
Every
you
Saturday.
every Saturday? Yeah.
Uh, I think the Jens and Mikkel, the coaches in KTK, has done a really great job of doing like this Saturday workout where we do swimming first, and then we go do interval sessions afterwards
Yeah.
in Fælledparken. But also another really great session to do with, or key session to do with the boys basically, is every Thursday after our morning threshold swim, we do a long easy run where people run from, yeah, I do 1 hour, and then some people do 2 hours, all the time running around, and trying to do this tradition with, you actually have to bring your a finisher t-shirt every time we go for that run.
Oh, I love that.
So it's just fun always. We're always like around 10 people
Yeah.
going for that easy jog after the swim.
I believe, of course, some of them are ambitious age groupers like yourself, but also like top professionals like Magnus, Tor Bendix, Visti.
Yeah, Visti and Scott and Valdemar Oliver is
Yeah,
pretty typical. Jakob Lemholt and Andrea is
yeah,
also typically a
Marie. Yeah,
part of it.
exactly.
Yeah.
But for these sessions, when you talk about it, like it's you don't go out and drink 3 beers on a Friday because you actually want to be fresh for that. You actually want to go early to bed. You want to have eaten right because you can't show up to these sessions not bringing your A game.
It depends. I think for most people, no, they would definitely sacrifice the beers and the party for good results. And also the guys that I'm training with, they are really really disciplined and are
Yeah,
doing everything in their power to do great in professional racing.
yeah,
Hence, I'm an age group racer, and I believe in that you can only perform at your best if you actually have a balanced social life and so on. Then, of course, I have a lot of social life in the club,
yeah.
but I also have a lot of good friends outside the club and
Mm,
with whom I'm going out with on a Friday or on a Saturday. Or that's also what you see in my basically see in my training peaks. The 2 weeks after Jönköping was basically just 2 weeks of vacation, going to a summer house and festivals with my friends and
yeah,
drinking a lot of beers, drinking a lot of shots, just to get this socializing part,
yeah.
which I
That's
definitely need to perform. I'm trying to get my sleep in normally, but
yeah,
I'm also trying to live
yeah.
a more normal life, and
Exactly. But just wait till
that's
you
what I live.
till you turn 30, then you can't do that anymore. So enjoy it.
I think it's already getting pretty tough,
Exactly.
but again, like, yeah, my friends, they call me a bit insane when we go out and party until 3 in the morning, and then I go out, wake up before them, and go for a 20k run. But I also want to keep my training going. But
Of course.
I don't perform if I don't have the socializing aspect and live a little bit.
Can you maybe explain? I think it's very typical Danish type of humor you guys have in KTK Elite Squad, where you um, like tease one another if people, yeah, maybe showed up a little bit late, or everybody knows that this is just in jest, this is humor, but there's also in the tone some seriousness that want people to be on the toes. They don't want to be the laughing stock in the group, right?
Yeah, well, I think we're really good at pushing each other in some way,
Yeah,
um, but always pushing each other with love.
exactly. Yeah,
Like we're
that's a good word.
we all want the best for each other is
Yeah,
what I've noticed. And when we trade together, all of us just do better. And that's what I love about our community in KTK.
hmm,
So many professional athletes, but also trying to be like a really good friendly group, and we're
yeah,
trying to be friends outside of the sport as well. Um, and because of that, I think we're also trying to push each other. If you do something,
hmm,
I don't know, wrong, but if you meet a little bit later or sleep over your alarm or
yeah,
don't go to bed at the right time, you get to hear a little bit about it,
yeah, yeah.
but more in a funny way.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But what I understood is actually, if you go after a super dedicated athlete, you know, he has been there 99 times out of 100, only miss one session, and then the other guys start calling this person lazy.
Yeah, you'll
so,
definitely
so,
hear about
so,
that
so,
one session if you don't meet up there.
exactly. This is so
But
funny.
we also know that people will get their training done.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about we had a quick look at the first 2 weeks, and then you're really starting to build up here. Third
Sober up.
week, averaging 26 hours. Can you pinpoint some of the key sessions here in the middle block here in those 2 weeks?
Yeah, well, to be honest, like it's basically the same from week to week.
Yeah,
I
variations all the same.
um I think the overall structure is the same, or
Yeah.
it is the same overall structure, and trying to do every Sunday or Wednesday, I do my long LT1 stuff. Um, every Sunday, I do also some long LT1 stuff, but with a little bit more push in the end towards
Hmm.
70.3 pace. And then I got the Tuesday and Saturday long Ironman tempo sessions, with Tuesday being the hardest one.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the 4 key sessions, I think. And then we also got 2 hard swim sessions,
Yeah.
Monday and Thursday. One in open water and one on long course.
Mm. But from feeling super tired and needing a little bit of social time after Jönköping, as we talked about in the beginning, when you go from training specifically for 70.3, then Ironman pace feels super, super easy. Uh, but were there
Yeah.
any sessions where you can say, okay, this actually feels like I feel like I could ride here, I could ride for another 100K here if I were supposed to, like,
To be honest, no.
no, it was hard all the
Um,
way.
it started pretty well on the Tuesday run, in the first week,
Yeah,
running with went out with guys who was gonna race Copenhagen. So I went out with Bastian and Visti and Valdemar, some other friends as well, with Alexander Mund on the bike to bring the water, and then that felt really really good. That was the first time I felt okay. This is gonna be nice, because I felt I was really good in running.
yeah,
And then the day after, it really hit me that this is going to be a long 3 week block,
yeah,
and it's the Ironman is going to be really really tough, because I went out for that free time 1 hour on Wednesday, and it felt bad the whole way. Ended up only doing 2, because I just couldn't push Ironman watts. My heart rate was off. I was tired, but I knew that okay, I just have to get the sessions done, but trying to keep it to something more. It doesn't make sense to go for that third hour if you're tired. You
exactly.
also have a training day the day after, and the consistency is
Yeah,
way more important than the 1 hour of pushing watts.
ah,
Um, so the whole 3 week block actually felt pretty bad. I got the sessions done, but it didn't feel really easy, other than the running sessions.
wow, okay,
My biking has been feeling really, really, really bad, to be honest. So somehow I was a little bit afraid for Copenhagen,
mm,
if I was still mentally drained after the freeway block, or freeway races.
mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I also just tried to remind myself that for every race I've raced the last 2 years, I've been ready on race day, and
Yeah,
I've done what was in my power on race day.
yeah,
So I just had to believe that okay, when I get to tapering, things will add up, and I
mm,
will feel the effect of the training, even though it feels bad in training.
yeah,
And when I get like to the tapering week before the Ironman, I know that okay, the body will start to feel better,
exactly.
and I will be ready on race day. Just yeah, kept believing in my training that I did something right,
Exactly.
even though it felt shit.
Have you been experimenting a little bit on taper also in your 70.3 and previous Ironmans? Because if you talk to a guy like the Swedish Terminator, Rasmus Svenningsson, he will be riding race pace 4 hours.
The day before.
Yeah, pretty much the day before the race. Don't believe in taper, and I actually have met. More athletes that you would believe who don't practice taper. So can you talk a little bit about how important taper is for your performance?
I think tapering for me is really important, because normally I'm tired in training. So getting that 2 week block of taper really helps me get the last like jump into race mode the day before or at race day.
Yeah.
But I haven't really like my free races in 70.3s. I couldn't taper for all of them,
Mm-hmm.
so I actually thought about like racing crew at in training volume, and then taper for Elsinore.
Yeah. Okay. Wow.
Um, that was so crew was basically a really really tough training session, and
Yeah.
then I started tapering afterwards. And then Copenhagen, I started tapering 2 weeks before, with the 1-to-1 same 2 weeks that I did a year ago before Hamburg, and the one-to-one same training weeks that I did before Kona.
Exactly.
So I know that works for me, and why change it if it works?
Exactly. But there's
So it's still, yeah. With the question about Rasmus Henning, for example, I still think I need the intensity, because otherwise my body will not be able to push.
people will see your training schedule here because it's not like you are staying in beds. You have a hard swim session Tuesday, and actually a 2.5 hour session with LT1 intervals on Thursdays. So you are still pushing all through the week, where other people's, they will do basically nothing, like zone one and jogging.
But I think that depends on the individual athlete,
Yeah.
because when I in my training do a Tuesday run around 20k Ironman intensity, then it's not tough for me to go out the Tuesday before a race to do a 4k Ironman
No.
session. Or if I normally do 3 hours Ironman intensity on the bike, then it is way better for me to do 30 minutes and a little bit of pushing in the
Exactly.
end. So my body still tapers a lot because it's used to do a lot of work. But if you're not used to do the same, then it would make more sense to just recover.
Makes perfect sense. There's actually some questions from people on Instagram who
Okay.
wants to know a little bit how important has the social part and KTK been for you achieving that result? Had that been possible, do you think, if not for your um, training squats and yeah, almost daily sessions together?
No, I don't think so. A big part of why I do triathlon is because of that group.
Hmm.
When I did the Copenhagen Ironman in 2023, my plan was, okay, I'm going to do this and then I'm out. And then I started getting better and better friends with more and more people in KTK. And that meant that I kept showing up to training,
Yeah.
and I wanted to be a part of that group. Also, like some of my best friends, Valdemar and Scott, have always been a part of the club, and I always look forward to see them in training. But I also got multiple friends through Kotiko and
Yeah.
getting to know people as Bastian way more, or Jakob Lemholt way more through training. That means that it's way more fun to
Yeah.
actually get there and do the socializing and get the training done. So I think it's a really, really big part of why I do what I do. I think we're really trying. I think all of the guys, basically in the elite group,
Mm.
are trying to incorporate new people in the group. I think all of us think it's the more the merrier,
Yeah.
and as long as you're like in a good mood at practice, and you're not, because you have to be really, really dedicated to the sport, but I think what I see is an experience is that everyone wants to talk to each other, and everyone wants to cheer each other on, or like that's I'm trying to do my part of it to also incorporate the age group, like team with the professional group, and
Yeah.
trying to put up Easter lunch or whatever socializing kind of expect with everyone in the club
Exactly.
to, because that just makes it all the more
Yeah.
fun. I truly believe that if you feel good in your environment, if you feel good in your environment, you're also better in training and definitely better in racing. So I
I think
think
that's
that's
I
what's
think that's
important.
very true. Very, very important to notice that if you feel if you feel welcome, and if you will
Exactly.
actually looking forward to, it can be one of the pretty girls in the lane next to you, or your best friends just enjoying the banter. Now you've experienced what it's like to be in front of a race, actually on race day, riding neck and neck with elite athletes, like pro athletes. You were up in the mix there. Have you reflected a little bit for the past week about what it actually takes for you to take the next step, being a professional not only by name but also making a living, actually getting a paycheck out of this. What will it take for you to improve like 2 or 3% more for next year when you plan to race pro?
I think it was a really good day to actually learn something,
Yeah.
learn a little bit more about the dynamics in the racing. Um, but I think in my training, it's I still think there's a lot to work on, which comes like day to day in the consistency that I'm doing.
Mm.
So I think what I've seen since I came home from Hawaii is that if I keep it consistent, then everything, like my shape will just be better and better and be, yeah, faster and faster in every discipline.
Yeah.
Um, so for right now, I think it's about just keeping the momentum
Yeah.
in some way. I know which aspects I need to focus on.
Yeah.
I need to get, for example, a higher peak because I'm pretty good at sustaining the same power for long. But
Mm.
the moment I go a little bit above that, I'm completely off.
Yeah.
So I know there's something I can work on. And I think, of course, that's part of it. But I think just in general, I need to get better all around
Mm.
to keep up with the faster guys and
Exactly. So,
be a
so
funnier place.
so you're not going to change anything drastically, just making sure that you can stay with the routine you have now, keep being consistent, and yeah, make smart decisions that make you show up for as many sessions as possible.
Yeah, true. Because I could, of course, I have thought about like, would it make sense to turn down a little bit of time on work, or
Mm.
should I maybe focus a little bit more on sleep and
Yeah.
recovery instead of running around all the time? But I like everything I do. I like the place I work a lot, and I like my own business a lot.
Yeah.
So I think I need the balance between all of it.
Yeah.
And of course, it's going to be a lot, but as long as I feel great in it, it makes sense for me. So of course, I could do a lot in recovery terms, but I would get bored.
Exactly. There's actually a question here, and I have changed it a little bit because it says if there's three things for the past 4 months that you could change, what would it do? But since you had such a great race, I would love to ask you if you should pinpoint three so-called White House decisions, where you like made some great choices that turned out to benefit you tremendously for this record-breaking race. What would those three things be?
I think we have already talked a little bit about it, but first of all, definitely the two deload weeks that I had,
Mm.
which is pretty uncommon for an athlete that is so serious with their sport
Mm.
to go out and just party for a week, basically.
Mm-hmm.
That was something I really needed to again stay with the balance in life.
Mm. Don't
And I
force
also hope
yourself
that
into try to suppress your instincts. Can you say that?
of yeah, I think of course if you're a top athlete and trying to make a living out of this,
Mm.
it's maybe something you should cut a little bit down. But
Mm-hmm.
as most of the people probably listening to this and so on, I think it's very, very important not to lock yourself out from
Yeah.
social things that you actually want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Then that one session on the Saturday morning maybe isn't that important. And maybe the mental aspect is better to be fresh
Exactly.
in mind.
If you fear that you are going to repeat things we already talked about in those three White House decisions, you are allowed to include decisions you made in the race itself that turned out to be very important. Are there any moments there?
I think my whole race plan about Trying to, yeah, in the race to actually just, first of all, believe in my training that if I had a good day, I would be able to swim very, very fast compared to the age groupers and actually catch up with some of the pro guys whom are not that good swimmers, but are really good bikers.
Mm,
And if I didn't push that much in the swim, which I did, then I wouldn't have been able to like do the bike split that I did.
exactly.
So I think that decision in racing really made my race.
Exactly. And also, actually, I don't know why I didn't think about this before, but those people like losing 4, 5, 6 minutes on the swim will obviously also want to push even more on the bike and be willing to maybe even sacrifice their own results to get in front. And if you were able to just hang on for dear life, maybe take a lead or turn or two, that's just a perfect situation for you.
Yeah, and I think that was a really, really good White House potential
Awesome.
decision
Yeah.
to just trust my training
Yeah.
and go with it and see if I sacrifice something, then I get a little bit smarter after the race. But if things turns out to be great, it's going to be really, really nice, and that was how it went.
Exactly. Do you
And
have
then I
one
think
more?
like the last thing, yeah, it comes to like all my training during the winter,
Yeah.
where I'm, I would say that I'm really good at keeping the intensity a little bit lower than what it should be. Like I'm good to back off a little bit. Um, so even though even though I hope, for example, to run the 70.3s half marathon off bike around 340 pace, I've basically done all my threshold runs around 340, 335, and not that much faster. To actually, like, I think the part of keeping the intensity a little bit lower and not push over
Yeah.
makes the peak way higher on race day.
Yeah.
And somehow I'm typically just 5-10 seconds slower in training, or 5-10-20 watts slower in training on the bike compared to my actually race power or race speed. And I think
This is
that's a really good decision during a winter or just training in general.
you're saying something. One of my big heroes listened to one of my favorite podcasts called Legends of Triathlon, talking about the three-time Ironman world champion Canadian Peter Reid, always training slow, racing fast. That
Yeah,
was his approach. People always wanted to train with him and try to beat him in training, which this is not the way I do. I train like to be efficient, but I race fast. So this is also your approach. I think it's very
yeah.
interesting.
I think I'm very much. I use Strava and I post everything I do,
Yeah,
but I'm also a little bit like fuck Strava. I don't mind
yeah,
what people think about. Okay, you just went 38 kilometers an hour on that segment, or oh, you really don't run faster in your threshold sessions. I really don't care about that part
yeah,
because I know that if I keep things together and keep my own plan, then
yeah.
I'm gonna be there on race
But
day and race fast.
Frederik, I believe this is a super healthy sign because this means that you're not training on ego, which I
No,
think is very
no
common.
hero sessions.
Yeah, you're very. Have you? Is that a skill you have learned in triathlon, or are you in your personal life not driven by ego in the unhealthy sense?
I think I'm good in just believing it where I am
Yeah,
and trying to be realistic, thinking a
yeah,
lot about was it Gustav Iden who said train where you're at and not where you want to be.
yeah.
Um, and
True.
that's also what I've seen in, like, let's say our Saturdays running sessions
Yeah,
where people overtake me or I get dropped in some intervals,
yeah,
even though I knew that I could probably push that more,
yeah.
but just staying focused and keep the eyes on the prize.
This
This lighthouse mental thing we have spoken with Mikkel Mortensen about is just something that
can you explain that
I keep
for people
thinking
who haven't
about.
heard about it? The that
The
method.
lighthouse, it's basically the lighthouse in, or the lights in the end of the tunnel. Like the path towards the lighthouse will have like a lot of small roads that you can choose to go on instead. Let's say on a Saturday session and you have to do 10 times 1K threshold and you're feeling really great, then you could have this idea of, okay, the last 2 3 I could probably push a little bit closer to 10K speed. But that would be like the fun decision right now. But on the long term, is it then a good decision?
Yeah,
And that's where I'm trying to think about, like, the long term
exactly.
decision, the lighthouse in the
Yeah.
end.
I don't want to turn this into a history lesson, but I have to. There's another small anecdote I want to share. Back in the 90s, there also were this young phenomenon, Spencer Smith. I think he became world champion just before drafting. Draft triathlon was introduced in the 90s. Fantastic bike swimmer, and he actually moved to Boulder, Colorado. He lived in England, and that was back no internet, so all your heroes, they were in the magazines. And now he trained and lived next to his idols, and he wanted to go out in every session to train with all his heroes and smashing it. And of course, when race day came, he was just completely fatigued, exhausted, because he had been doing all their training and not his own training.
Yeah.
So this is a key lesson.
Hopefully that's at least what I'm trying also to tell, like, my athletes or the
Yeah,
people I coach, or just trying to, also when we talk about it in training with the KTK squad, remember your goal, or
yeah,
remember why you train, and not, it's not today you have to be the king.
exactly. The last question is about something that is, you can't underestimate the importance of carbs and fueling in a heavy Ironman block, and also in racing. What do you do? How much do you drink? How many carbs, and how focused are you in that part of triathlon?
um I try to eat everything I want and eat all the time in a typical training day or a week. Just get everything in.
Yeah,
And then, of course, in training on the longer sessions, I try to train the load of sugar that I want to do on race day.
mm,
So I practice like the 150 grams of carbs in every hard training session, basically,
yeah.
if it's the run or in the swim or on the bike.
Just the
Um,
classic mixed with water in a bottle, and then or do you have gel stuff like that?
I use the normal sugar from Netto for 10 kronas, and I put 150 grams in each bottle and mix it with water.
And a
Uh,
bit of salt as well.
Not that much in training.
But can you
Sometimes I
actually?
squeeze the lemon that you
Yeah.
also mix up with like cranberry juice and
Yeah.
vodka for parties. That's normally the one I put in my
Yeah.
bottles as well.
Can you actually recommend to do a budget mixture like that?
Yeah, I tell my athletes to do it. And it works fine in training. And I think if your body works with that, it's definitely also going to work
Yeah.
with mountain or endurance products
Exactly. Have
for
you
race day.
have you pushed your guts to be able to handle more sugar fluids, just to be able to absorb more?
Yeah, when I came home from Hawaii, it was 100 grams. And then I actually lived with Philip Refslund from KTK as well. We were roomies for a half a year,
Yeah.
where we tried to like remind each other of bringing sugar to every session. So we basically mixed up bottles every morning when we head to the morning swim or
Yeah.
the
Remember
bike
to brush your teeth while you do that.
as well. Yeah, definitely. Um, So yeah, we tried to push our limits on that and actually also remember to do it
Yeah.
for a couple of weeks, and that went really well. And then we just down schedule a little bit
Yeah.
to the harder sessions.
Yeah. But can you actually feel that when you get adapted to that level of sugar, that you don't? I think most people in a race situation have tried, where you almost throw up a little bit because you almost can't handle it. That's, if you've done that for some weeks that the body will absorb it much better.
It's way more easier. It's way easier. It's like drinking, I don't know, soda or
Yeah, yeah,
just eating candy. So
yeah.
just about getting used to it.
I I think people who watch this or hear this interview get the sense that you are uh, at the same time very dedicated and serious about triathlon, but you also want to be loose in some sense in the way, like the Hawaiian way, actually,
Yeah.
like a surfer kind of lifestyle. Also, you mentioned Gustav Iden. He, I think they have been asked all the time about what they eat, and they also talked about, well, pizza, is like the best, because sports journalists expect, that they only eat a really specific kind of food, like a certain kind of diet, but they, actually just eat normal foods with lots of carb. That's tasty as well, and I believe you do the same.
I think it's just about getting a lot.
Yeah,
And then I think the sugar in training is very good, because otherwise you'll just come home from practice and be completely exhausted and craving sugar
yeah, yeah,
instead. And that's the problem when you actually I'm not like, I don't know anything about the body, but I think it's something with that is way worse for the body and the insulin
yeah,
than consuming it in
yeah,
training where you need the spikes.
yeah.
The problem is when you get home and you crave and eat even more unhealthy stuff when you get home from the bike
Exactly.
ride.
So when you don't have that craving or don't feel it that much, it's a sign that you fuel proper.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Do we have time to talk a little bit about the race itself? I think people have, of course, watched your split: swimming 49 minutes, riding 4:01, and then a marathon. Best time for you, was it 2:52?
Yeah, something around that. Yeah, two
Something like
fifty
that.
two.
Do you actually have a profile of your heart rate so we can upload as well, so people can see, or were you actually able to hold a pretty steady heart rate all through the race?
Yeah, I think so. I do have my heart rate.
Yeah,
My power meter didn't really work
yeah,
for, or I hope it didn't work,
yeah,
to be honest. So I don't know how much we can use that, but yeah, my heart rate was pretty even the
yeah,
whole way on the bike. Of course, pretty high after the swim, and I actually, what does Training Peaks say? It says that I hit my highest 5 second and 1 minute heart rate this year on the bike,
yeah.
and third fast highest heart rate in 20 minutes, 10 minutes, 5 minutes this year.
Really strong.
Um,
So there has been moments where you were really making an effort to yeah, stay on the wheel, or
yeah, and
to
I
get
think that
into,
was in the beginning.
yeah, where you really had to
Uh,
maybe actually running through the transition zone even.
no, I didn't. I didn't have a heart rate on there,
No.
but I think it was pretty high there as well.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
just
yeah,
to caught up with like the next guy,
yeah,
this Belgian guy I actually rode with the whole way, which I think now was a really really clever decision
yeah, yeah,
to give it everything to catch his wheel.
yeah. Exactly, and
So it was pretty tough in the beginning.
exactly, and I don't know if we mentioned this, but I've did a lot of um, short videos, reels, like after the race, talking to age groupers and pros, and I think yours is almost at 14,500 in 1 week, and I think that's twice as many as there's triathletes in Denmark. So how has the response been after your crazy race?
Yeah, I gained a lot of Instagram followers and
Yeah,
a lot of messages and so on congratulating me.
yeah,
Uh, yeah, I didn't know that like racing an Ironman in Copenhagen would do that compared to, let's say, Hawaii. But Elsinore and Copenhagen definitely blew up my Instagram in
yeah,
some way. So it's been fun,
yeah,
um, but also helped like a lot, and
Motivates you?
maybe I could go out and see for some sponsors now,
Yeah.
or I have this coaching business, which also, like, of course, boomed a bit since then.
A one person company, or are you in on board with some other guys?
It's me, myself, and I.
Vesta
Um,
Performance.
Vesta Performance.
Yeah. So shout out to Vesta Performance if
Yeah.
anybody is interested. How many people are there room for in the squad? Because I believe you can't like if there's 50 new athletes, or maybe you can. I don't know.
Nah, right now I think I've actually reached pretty close to my top boundary. I have 3 or 4 spots left,
Wow.
but I'm thinking about solutions to expand my brand.
Yeah.
Luckily, I know a lot of really intelligent guys who does triathlon as well. So trying to get them a little bit to help me, and maybe make some money to afford their triathlon career could be really fun
Oh, that's great.
to work together with them.
Now I can't remember what you actually studied. Now I'm just taking a wild guess. Something with the CBS, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
accounting and financing.
it's natural for you to be an entrepreneur, to be creative, to think, in business models and
I think that was a turn I made 2 years ago
yeah,
from wanting to be partner in a big company to actually be self-employed.
yeah. That's when you find out the joy of going out to ride. That's actually worth much more than earning a few thousand kroners more, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I also discovered that as well. Um, Normally, when I ask pros who have been on the podium or won an Ironman, we go like really step by step through the race. But the feeling that I have is actually you being able to swim fast, jump on the back end of the pros, riding for dear life, and then running to your ability. There was not like any dramatic moment where someone crashed in front of you, or where you almost something. Everything was actually quite smooth and planned, to my knowledge.
Yeah, pretty close. I think we had. Yeah, I was riding in a group of, we were 3 people, and when we came to the second loop around 120k, one of the guys, I think Zach Cooper, he went in the front, and then actually a motorbike came in between us and hit a cone that hit
Oh,
the third guy that we were racing with. So he didn't crash, but we lost like Zach's wheel and couldn't close it again because he was really pushing and making a move at that point. So that's unfortunately the only thing. Then we could have maybe went a little bit faster on the bike, but
exactly.
I
And
don't know. I don't have like anything else that that didn't went as planned.
can I ask you just for the record? I think Zach Cooper ended up in fourth.
Fourth, yeah,
Fourth.
and a qualifying spot for Nice.
Have you thought about the what ifs? What if you could have kept that wheel? What if you could have somehow that incident didn't happen?
He
You
did a
could.
2:34 marathon. I don't think I would
Okay.
be
Okay,
close to
that's close
anything.
to toast, but that I think that could really make headlines. You being in the top five overall as an age grouper in
Yeah, no,
Ironman.
I don't think that would be maybe 1 minute
Yeah,
from the time.
exactly. Did you actually have time to listen to the interview I did with? And I don't blame you if you didn't, but I had a chat, 45 minutes with the winner, Finn.
No, not yet.
Not yet. If you have the time, go and take a listen. He has a super interesting strategy. He's working with Bjørn Giesmann, the former coach of Patrick Lange,
Okay.
uh, and he like averaged 20 hours per week, but then race a ton in 2 years. Copenhagen is his 10th Ironman or something like that, because his strategy is to just basically recover a little bit between races and just and he won
Go again.
two big Ironmans this summer, so something obviously works for him.
Yeah, no, I haven't thought about that, but I think after my first half year here with so many 70.3s,
Yeah,
I think that this year has been too much, and I also have my bear in 10 weeks time,
yeah,
so it's gonna be a long season. I like racing, but I would probably skip 1 or 2 races next
yeah,
year.
exactly. Or maybe invest. Do you have some recover boots for a little bit?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
to get a little bit more recovery in.
Yeah, as always, a pleasure. And as I said before, if we think of anything that we missed, we can just add up, and people are always more than welcome to slide into our DM for professional reasons, obviously. So reach out if there's any more questions. And yeah, for you guys watching, as I always say, stay tuned.